which is the elitists in government who they keep fracturing. Obviously, they keep fracturing people intentionally, race baiting, identity politics, blah blah blah.
Like that's still people getting together though. It's just getting together for the cause that supports them, right? It's about discrediting.
Yeah, it's always at the expense of someone else, though, right? When we're talking about politics, that's the case. When we have a welfare state that's doling out, that's able to print money and then also collect taxes with impunity, everyone's fighting over, that power, and it's at the expense of the other party. It's wicked.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't talked about this stuff in a while.
What do you think is going to happen next? Really, like, what is your wildest imagination that can happen?
Well, Matt, was it you that was talking about Agenda 2030 or whatever?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But there's definitely more crisis to come. Like COVID was just the beginning. Like that's how you get the Great Reset, and they've already done it abroad. And they printed plenty of money, and it's in their coffers to where they could easily unleash that onto the market and create a crisis if and when they want. Like it's like the way I see it with all the money that was printed, and like also just all the money that's in the Fed's balance sheet, like, and just their ability obviously to print money, but it's about the money that actually floods into the market and starts competing for goods, which creates inflation. So it's like,
yeah,
they could unleash that at any given time and cause chaos. Right now, obviously, it's somewhat tame. I mean, we're so materially wealthy that, like, even with 10% inflation, it's really not that bad. What's really bad about it is that people, like the average American, is in debt. Like, they're strung out so far, like, to barely be able to afford all the things they have: their car payment, their house, their phone bill, like everything, to where if there's any, they have, most Americans don't give themselves any margin for error. Like,
paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, that's, cheap credit. Like, most people driving these new fancy cars, like, have no business driving them, and like the car dealerships have no business loaning them out to them. But it's very similar to the housing crisis. Like, they were just giving people mortgages, house loans. Like, they literally had ninja loans, no income, no job. Oh, here's a bunch of money to buy a house. That's a good idea.
Oh my God.
But like, it's the same exact incentives in the car market. They're just trying, the dealers and the salespeople at the dealership are just trying to push the inventory however they can, even if that means a 7-year lease on a car that's gonna depreciate like crazy after the first 3, 4, 5 years, and people are gonna default and not pay them back.
But this,
like,
this
there's a lot.
Like, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, there's a, I mean, economists are calling it the everything bubble. Like, it's just a matter of which one pops first and shakes the entire system. Like, we're fragile, but like the only solution to that is to inject more money. That they've proven that they're going to do that, and then, it's just, economists call it pushing on a string. Like, eventually it loses its effect. Like, it's almost like it's stimulus, right? So it's almost like just constantly, like, only getting 5 hours of sleep, and they're like, oh, I'll just have coffee. Oh, I'll just have one more cup of coffee. Oh, I'll just have one more cup. Eventually, you're gonna crash, come down, be sick, and, like, pay the consequences. I know MMT disputes this. Peter Ryan would dispute it, but I think their argument's pretty fragile. They're like, oh, well, as long as the money's going towards productive goods, and it's like, yeah, if it was going to productive goods, but it's not. It's going into the hands of the elites that are probably, you know, orchestrating the coming crises, and they're going to know when it's going to happen, and they're going to be set up to profit from it.
Yep. Like all these issues, though, it really comes back down to like what people value. You know, like this guy wouldn't put himself into tens of thousands of dollars in debt or more if he didn't value what he was putting himself in debt for. You know.
Like, yeah, but it's like what people value is obviously like messed up, like
right,
you know, like valuing consumption and material goods and like appearances and keeping up with the Joneses. Like nothing's changed. Like, but yeah, this is Nataliya. This is why I'm interested in the Zetis and Honduras and the free private cities and Prospera and all that, Morzon.
Yeah. You know, okay, so I'm not coming from the US originally. I've lived in New York for around half of my life, but I left in 2020, 2021. I was like done. Back to Europe, and kind of looking in the US from a side, still missing some parts of the culture. But you're correct. I feel it's the crisis of value, actually, and I think the whole world has been looking up to the U.S. For providing the standard of what we value as humanity. And I think the U.S. is kind of lost.
Export is media.
Yeah.
Hollywood, Netflix, TV shows, like
Google, Facebook,
and those glorify all the wrong values.
Yeah. Yep. They're manufacturing like values that are imbued within these TV shows that everyone's watching or within these movies, right? Like it's like osmosis, like that you have this multi-million-dollar production that's saying that like this is good or this is bad, like just for example, like I don't know, I was gonna say gay, whatever, but like let's just say like just LBGTQ, whatever, generally, and it's just like that's actually just really perverse, and it's like here we are championing it as like a virtue, like Caitlyn Jenner, like Woman of the Year, like all this stuff, like we have all the signs, all the writings on the wall, but but what can you do, right? That's the ultimate thing. And like most people are just like, well, can't really do anything. I'm just going to continue watching football and ordering, my DoorDash and going out and being with my friends. And then like, whatever happens, it'll come. Like, what am I supposed to do, right? Like we've lost we've been demoralized, right? Like the essence of being demoralized is being broken. Like you don't feel like you can affect positive change. You just give up. You give in. But like this is what like Lotus. I mean, I see Lotus as a vehicle, like the vehicle to like deal with this, right? Like
do the hard work required.
Because what it comes down to in the events of crisis, it's all about like who your community, and banding together and wading through it together, and also helping the people that you can. And like that's literally the role of the church. Like the church, whenever there's like collapse of government, like the church, people gravitate towards the church.
Yeah, like generally, like spirituality, you're correct. I mean, totally, when you're experiencing a breakup or like, something in your life, and then most people that I know that kind of deal with their depression, they do go to spiritual stuff. Could be including psychedelics, doesn't have to, but definitely like things like meditation, change of diet, lifestyle shifts. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most people are going towards these like new age alternative spirituality stuff, which is just I mean, it's kind of like the supplement industry. It's there's a lot of grifters and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
bad
Yeah,
stuff
it
out there.
became
It's like
commercial. Yeah.
um it's you know, what we need is community. We don't need a special
Mm-hmm.
guru on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube to tell me to
Mm-hmm.
do this esoteric Latin America like voodoo spiritual ritual in order to like heal myself. Like, no, I need to go talk to friends in my community that actually care about me.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't need to go to a therapist. I don't need to buy your course. Like,
But you're right. But people that don't already know that, they look to these gurus as like a guide, you know, to guide them towards that. But that's ultimately the issue, is that most of them are just grifters, and they're going to end up leading them back down the same destructive path that they're trying to escape from.
yeah, they'll give you like this routine. It's a temporary high or temporary cope, or whatever. But you keep going back to the well. You're not getting at the core of the issue.
Yep.
And I think the core of the issue is like love and meaning and belonging, and like making sense of your situation in your life, like not grasping for like, you know, this esoteric like, you know, spiritual cure all, which is what everyone's selling on YouTube and TikTok and whatever. It's like, you know, but yeah, there's lots of issues. I haven't fleshed this out and talked about it in a while.
What do you think about? What do you think
It's
about?
a ticking time bomb, though.
Yeah. No. Look.
I don't know
Last question
what or
to you,
how or
Sean.
when it's gonna happen, but you know, we have crisis ahead. Like it's ominous.
Do you think? Yeah is gonna do something? Like, do you think he has the influence over people? I mean, Kanye West
Who?
and his approach to
Oh,
2024 election. He's like creating this merch with the year 24 on it. I think through fashion, people really can get influenced in masses. I think he has a lot of power for this like cultural influence. Do you think he has a shot in this?
Yeah, no, he has tons of influence. People know him, follow him, and listen to him. I just wonder what he's gonna do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you know, obviously I mean, I guess he's gonna have Twitter as a way of reaching people, but like, how is he necessarily going to reach people if they, you know, completely cut him off of all the platforms like they did Alex Jones?
Right. Exactly.
Like, you're gonna have to create your own platform. He's big enough to do that, obviously, but it's not ideal. And also, your influence is then all of a sudden capped. Like it's very limited. It has a ceiling now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
no, I definitely think Kanye is a force for good, and he's definitely, his little escapades are entertaining, if nothing else.
Yeah, I do believe that Americans have a power of storytelling that is quite powerful. Generally, we have experience in
Oh,
storytelling.
well, that's the Jews.
Right?
Speaking of Kanye, they're the best storytellers ever to live. Like, look, they wrote the vast majority of the Holy Bible, and I guess Paul was, who wrote most of the New Testament, was a staunch Jew before, you know, Christ arrested him, and road to Damascus. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but Christ came to him and worked through him to write the New Testament and build churches and spread the gospel. Like, that's how we got Christianity, was through basically, I mean, gosh, like a lot of so much of it is attributed to him, but obviously with tons of helps to other disciples. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, slowly but surely through just local communities, Christianity was this completely obscure thing, and eventually, you know, the Romans couldn't grapple with it anymore and just adopted it themselves. They're like, oh, if we can't beat them, we'll join them. And then they adopted Christianity and uh, corrupted Christianity, really. But and the Roman Catholics have corrupted Christianity. I think it's the Roman Catholic Church is extremely corrupt.
Wow, how did we get here? I think that's that's quite special. Thank you. Sean, Matthew, thanks so much for answering my questions. I've been missing some
You're
of these
welcome.
random digital spaces that become not so random because this is how trust is built. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're very welcome.
Yeah, and so you're in Europe?
Yeah. Metaslavia is a thing,